I'm Beth Farnsworth in Santa Barbara, and I'm about to take you across state lines to Colorado for a look at the politics of pot. See what life is like with legalized marijuana. It is a big issue on the upcoming November ballot, and some people are saying, finally, it's about time. Others worry if Proposition 64 passes, allowing all adults in California legal access to marijuana, our communities will go to, well, pot. For the next half hour, take a look for yourselves. You decide. Coast to coast, from California to Maine, millions of voters in 9 states will cast ballots to expand legalized and/or medicinal marijuana. All eyes are on the trend-setting Golden State and Colorado. As many people are quick to say, the Centennial State did it right.
In fact, it's called the Colorado model.
Barbara Brohl is executive director of Colorado's Department of Revenue and oversees more than a handful of divisions, including marijuana.
I want to, dispel some of the myths. There's a myth that everybody in Colorado is walking around stoned, and that is not the truth.
The Colorado model borrows from the other departments Brohl oversees, from tobacco and gaming to liquor and car dealerships. She credits a unified force of more than a dozen groups and agencies that tackles marijuana-related impacts.
We bring in law enforcement, we bring in parents groups, doctors from the Children's Hospital, industry. We bring in, lawyers. I mean, everyone that we can think of that has an interest in this.
Brohl and her staff have traveled the world, sharing their experiences with leaders in other countries.
I even spoke this year at the UN in Vienna.
She talks about what's worked after voters legalized marijuana, and now, 2.5 years into it, what are the biggest challenges ahead?
The top 3 are going to be edibles, pesticides, and gray market. I mean, those are really the big key things, and whatever you can do to kind of put some guardrails around that, you're gonna do pretty well.
When it comes to edibles, Brohl says not everyone knows their limit.
If you, smoke marijuana, you get the effect pretty quickly within a few minutes. But if you consume it through an edible, it can take 2 to 4 hours.
It is a challenge that has proven deadly.
One was an individual who had consumed way too much, and what he did is he fell off of a balcony at a hotel.
And cause for concern.
What we were hearing from parents and school resource officers was, these teens are having, a candy bar, and I can't tell whether it has marijuana in it.
As of October 1st of this year, all edibles must be clearly marked, both on the product itself and the packaging, with the standard serving size of 10 milligrams of THC. The second challenge she mentioned, pesticides. Tricky because it's an area that crosses into federal territory. And since the government is hands-off right now, the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, won't step in. So the Marijuana Enforcement Division is on its own.
We have been able to go all the way back up the supply chain and then all the way back down the supply chain and embargo or put on administrative hold those products.
That's done through radio frequency or an RFID tag on every single marijuana plant, tracking it from seed to sale. And that third biggest challenge, the so-called gray market.
That's where it's kind of cultivated legally but then distributed illegally.
Even with Colorado's 6-plant per adult law, the marijuana enforcement team is finding people labeling themselves as caregivers are way beyond that number.
We can't imagine that any one individual really does need 99 plants.
Fines can range between $10,000 and $50,000.
We get asked questions like, well, why don't you just ban edibles? Well, we can't. They're in the Constitution. So we have to deal with that.
In the end, Brohl believes it could take up to 10 years to clear out the hazy legalities of marijuana.
It just comes down to like the basic thing. What do people act like? What's the experience? What's, the dangers of it? And you balance them and then you add up and you go, well, of course.
I'm actually against it. Reason being is I don't like the smell of it.
If you want to talk urban decay, don't mention Denver, because you won't find it here. You're talking about medicinal and recreational, so all of it
All of it, yeah, no question, yeah.
should be legal.
Yes, definitely.
You don't want to see people drinking a beer in the park. You don't want to see people lighting up a joint in the park either.
We can't legally, by local laws, sit here and smoke pot.
I myself don't partake, but I'm a total advocate for it.
Medicinal is good. I'm not for recreational.
A population boom is pushing the mile-high metropolis close to the 700,000 mark, thanks to a corporate mecca and the hustle and bustle of locals and tourists working hard and playing harder. Oh, and legalized recreational marijuana isn't hurting city coffers, depending on who you ask. Walk the streets of downtown Denver and you'll see a pot shop tucked in between, say, Starbucks and Subway. Head in another direction past 7-Eleven and another dispensary. Not for health purposes, but for fun. And that bus cruising downtown isn't part of mass transit. It is a cannabis carnival on wheels. For adults who fancy marijuana over Merlot or microbrews, Colorado is the place to be. Climb aboard, and that Looper bus will take you on the ride of your life.
We got bongs, we have oil smoking rigs, rolling papers, usually a host or hostess aboard that could help you if you're unfamiliar with the lifestyle.
You too will be familiar with the lifestyle if California voters approve Proposition 64 in November.
We are Looper, and we are here to take you from point A to point CBD to point THC. We hope to see you soon.
Coloradans have been able to legally toke and chew their way to euphoria or pain relief medicinally since 2000, recreationally since 2014.
You know, if you come to the city and you buy something, you have no place to use it unless you want to pay a large fee at your hotel room, when you check out.
The mobile marijuana lounge is just one way business owners have carved out a niche in a state where recreational pot is legal.
This is an expensive business for sure.
Hal Tabak estimates between the app, the website, bus, and hardware, he and his partner invested close to $1 million to roll out Looper.
Banks are hesitant to give you loans and stuff like that, so you do have to fund yourself.
The two businessmen hope their financial worries go up in smoke, thanks to 40 passengers a day at $25 a pop, 7 days a week.
California, Arizona, Michigan, Maine, New York, New Jersey, all of them, get ready for a Looper bus coming to a city near you.
Less than 2 hours south of Denver is Colorado Springs, home to 3 military bases, 19 colleges and universities, and more than a dozen churches, and legalized medicinal marijuana. You'll find recreational marijuana businesses 17 minutes away in Manitou Springs.
Go, Angel. Thank you.
Locals tell us Maggie's Farm is the busiest recreational dispensary, not just in the state of Colorado, but in the country for its size, and the most awarded.
Is this one of the #1 top sellers?
Yes, ma'am. This is Blue Dream. It's one of my favorites.
This clerk, Chris, recommends the indica strain for troops coming home from overseas.
Because it gives them the upbeat pep that they need to get up to fight depression, to get to go to work.
Maggie's models its shop after the DMV and accommodates thousands of customers a month. It is a highly regulated business. Customers must be at least 21 with a valid ID and are limited to 1 purchase a day. Only 3 customers allowed at the counter at a time. Among Maggie's top sellers,
so these would be our 3 gummies.
Each gummy in this particular 10-piece container is a 10 milligram hybrid dose.
The benefits of any kind of hybrid gummy that you get is very good for just really relaxation. It's very good for stress. It's very good for pain relief, okay? Indicas are more pain relievers, though. Those are the ones that are a little more for serious body pain, serious sleep, stress, things of that nature.
And a quick crash course in another strain.
Then you have sativas, which would be on the other end of the spectrum, which is more of an uplifting high.
Maggie's products range in price from $10 to $200. A spokesman who refused to go on camera says the retro-style business cranks out the equivalent of 12 dispensaries in one. Jars of indica and sativa buds line the countertop with names like Blue Dream, XXX Skunk, and Herkel, just to name a few. Cookies, decadent-looking chocolate truffles, and those popular gummies fill the cases. And and this.
It's basically hash.
Or wax, a marijuana extract.
This would actually be done in a vaporizer pen or a dab rig.
He tells us Mahatma products are popular because of their labeling.
Because they always also put all the THC contents, the THCA content, the CBD content, CBDA, and CBNs. So you know exactly what is in this.
CBDs for severe pain and CBD oil for cancer sufferers.
No, obviously not. Yeah, you wouldn't smoke this whole thing at once. There are a lot of people that are, attempting to do so, but not good.
Up next, cannabis without the high. Who is really benefiting?
If it does pass, again, education. It's a drug or a substance like alcohol. It needs to be treated responsibly.
I don't think it's a great thing. I really don't. I know that our state coffers would say otherwise, but I think it's about it's a social issue.
You could say there are two sides to the marijuana leaf. Businesses raking in the green while people cruise the streets of Denver looking for fun and flow. On the flip side, a much different not-for-profit lifestyle down the highway at District 49, Colorado Springs. Colorado Springs is known as the Olympic City of the USA, but in some areas, it's known for its medicinal marijuana laws. It was spring of this year when dozens of students there helped put their 25 schools on a national map, including Wyatt Colwell.
So his primary diagnosis is spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy.
And Ava Lee Steinbach.
Ava Lee has cerebral palsy, and she also has 2 different forms of epilepsy.
And Jack Storms.
I know, I'm showing her your medicine.
Jax's mother, Jenny, invites us into her home as she cooks down a cannabis concentrate.
So this is another batch I made. This is called Grape Crush. That's the concentrate. And then what I do is I dilute it.
School officials say Jenny was instrumental in helping District 49 reach an historic milestone. It is the first in the state of Colorado to allow students to receive doses of marijuana on campus during class. It is known as Jax's policy, named after this 17-year-old boy. Across the room, 2 physical therapists put Jax through his paces.
1, 2, 3, up, up. Good job, buddy.
Pots, pans, syringes, and a hot plate. The registered nurse devotes hours each day preparing her son's meds that she feeds directly into his GI tube with a syringe.
Of the CBD, he gets about 500 milligrams a day. And of the THC, he probably gets about 200 milligrams.
Jax's health problems began with violent seizures when he was just 4 months old. He was diagnosed with Dravet syndrome, a catastrophic form of epilepsy. Over time, Jax developed juvenile Parkinson's, a known side effect, his mother says, from his prescription meds.
The first line for his seizure response is not Diastat or Valium.
Jenny secretly turned to cannabis when nothing else worked, and something clicked, and people noticed.
He went from running down the hall and running away from everybody to sitting and watching a movie for an hour. He went from 1 to 3 word sentences to 3 to 5 word sentences. After about 3 weeks, I finally was stopped by the school nurse, and she said, "You got to tell me." And I said, "I have to kill you. I can't, because it's a secret."
Jenny says the school nurse became a believer in cannabis, but the state she lived in at the time did not.
And I am not going to turn our state into a place where people fly into to get high for tax revenue. I'm not going to do that.
I'm asking for my son's life to be saved.
I understand. Well, listen, I understand that, but we brought up.
It was very well known. I fought Governor Christie quite hard back in New Jersey to be able to fix the medical marijuana program out there so we could stay home, but it didn't work out.
Moving to Colorado and helping change school policy at the district and state levels has not only helped Jax, it is also benefiting more than 3 dozen local families in similar situations.
just because you're a cannabis child who's taking cannabis to control, cancer, seizures, Crohn's, whatever the disorder is, it doesn't mean you need to be dosed during school. It just allows for that opportunity to be dosed during school.
That was an intimate look at the benefits of medicinal marijuana. Coming up next, recreational pot and the challenges ahead.
For me, I feel like that's great because the narcotic industry is just ridiculous.
I think there's an idea that people that smoke marijuana are less productive, less effective, less contributing to society. But I think you'll find, certainly living in Colorado, there's a lot of people that smoke marijuana that are certainly contributing to society. So.
It was November of 2012 when Colorado voters said yes to legalizing recreational marijuana. The Mile High City rose to the occasion.
We were the first in the world, or the first in the country, the first in the world with retail sales.
There was no existing model, no marijuana map, no blueprint to help navigate more than 600,000 people and millions of tourists through the purple haze of a new cannabis constitution. Ashley Kilroy, executive director of Denver's marijuana policy, remembers someone suggesting Amsterdam as a model. That gave everyone in the room a good laugh.
Do you think that legal marijuana, medicinal, recreational, is a good thing for Denver?
I think we're still, even though it's 2.5 years, we're still so early into it, it's really hard to know.
The Office of Marijuana Policy is overseen by the mayor's office here in the city of Denver, and they're tackling some of the bigger issues right now, happen to be pesticides, banking, new pot clubs that are popping up, and new research.
More than a dozen agencies are impacted by marijuana laws, from the Department of Excise and Licenses to Environmental Health, Police, and Fire. And all of them are working together.
A home is not a greenhouse. Houses are built to be houses. That's where you're supposed to live, eat, and sleep.
Leaders quickly learned they'd need to cap numbers. Now Colorado's Constitution allows every adult in the state to grow up to 6 marijuana plants for their own personal use, whether they're 6 inches high or 6 feet tall.
Saying you can do it in a bedroom if you want to do that personally or for recreation or whatever. But you're not going to be able to take over the whole house like many people have.
And now, a cap of 150 square feet of space for home grows. And that's created a backlog of problems, particularly in high-rent areas.
They're demoing walls, cutting holes in the floor to allow ventilation and power cords. Then they're overtaxing the electrical system in there. They're adding air conditioners to maintain the temperature for the plants, for the grow.
Brett Lacey, the fire marshal of Colorado Springs, hears complaints of not just 1, but 5 air conditioners running outside a neighbor's house around the clock. And that's just for starters.
We have huge amounts of mold that's beginning to grow in the walls and in all the other, the carpeting and in the roof.
The bigger the grow, the larger the home. Lacey says the problem is happening in affluent areas of the community. Denver police also seeing issues cropping up.
Juveniles in the schools has been a big one, and it's also affected the health industry with overdoses and juveniles being under the influence and having to go to the hospital.
And officers in Colorado Springs now tracking other marijuana trends.
We're seeing more of it now. So whereas it used to be driving under the influence of alcohol, now you have marijuana.
Handling suspected DUIs or DUIDs driving under the influence of drugs now requires the help of firefighters.
We have a partnership with Colorado State Patrol, so if somebody is suspected of driving under the influence and they've pulled them over, they will bring them to the nearest firehouse in Colorado Springs. We will do a blood draw.
They're not supposed to have any marijuana in their system, any cannabis in their system at all driving, or can they have some?
They can have some. It's just like alcohol. There's regulatory limits that you can drive and be under the influence. 5 nanograms is the minimal limit.
City officials tell us last year the city of Denver logged 77 DUIDs compared to 2,500 DUIs in the same period. Kilroy says it's really tough to know what impacts marijuana use is having on society. The data just isn't there yet to make comparisons.
Many hospitals weren't tracking whether or not somebody had consumed marijuana shortly before the hospital admission. With regard to school and school suspensions, they might have been tracking a drug-related suspension, but they weren't necessarily teasing out marijuana.
Now they are. Including suspicious house fires, possibly linked to dangerous manufacturing of marijuana concentrate or hash oil. And that's creating a whole new training ground.
So the fire department had to learn what the hash oil extraction machine was.
Kilroy says while marijuana-related crime numbers have stayed about the same, the amount of pot involved is much bigger and is often hidden in plain sight.
Whereas we might have pulled over someone before and they'd have a pound of marijuana in their car, now we're going into illegal grows that might have 2,000 plants.
So the city has hired more police, firefighters, and an additional city attorney. But city coffers are also going up.
You've probably heard since you've been here that marijuana is on track this year to be $1 billion industry in Colorado. Colorado's overall GDP is $330 billion. So marijuana related to the entire state GDP is about 1/3 of 1%.
And while you must be a Colorado resident for 2 years in order to open a dispensary, new this fall, out-of-state residents can invest in Colorado's growing business of legal marijuana. Up next, a first-hand look at the lucrative business of recreational marijuana. And does it make you want to partake again? Knowing the effects and how it made you feel many years ago, does it interest you again?
Oh yeah, at a certain point in my professional life, maybe shift, sure. Yeah, there's no doubt, right? There's no doubt.
When I spend a lot of time on the 16th Street Mall, I go around to a lot of the restaurants and I like to meet the bartenders and stuff. And they said 2 years ago, a lot of people would come in and be like, "Can you tell me where I can find some marijuana?" And they'd be whispering. They were afraid to say it. And now it's more commonplace. People walking around asking about it, taking pictures of the sign.
We're on the 16th Street Mall. This is one of the most popular areas in downtown Denver. And you've got a lot of different types of storefronts. We've got a sports fan on one side, 7-Eleven on the other, and in the middle, a marijuana dispensary. Let's go on in.
Some industry experts tell us it is easier to buy heroin or OxyContin than legal marijuana.
Yeah, we do a 2, even sometimes 3-point check system. So what we do is we have a guard with a scanner at the door.
Jamie Perino is owner of 4 marijuana dispensaries, 3 in Denver, 1 in Boulder, along with marijuana grows. She says she grosses $15 million a year. Her Euflora shop on the 16th Street Mall in downtown Denver is her busiest moneymaker.
There's every country and every continent is represented. It's really exciting.
Euflora's best sellers?
Edibles and vape pens are very popular here because it's more discreet and easy to use.
Prices range from $5 for an edible to $300 for a special vape pen. The majority of Perino's customers we talked to were from out of state, and not one of them was willing to go on camera.
And I have to ask, do you feel like there's still a stigma when it comes to smoking marijuana, using marijuana in any way?
I would say definitely a lot less than there were 2 years ago.
Her main clients?
It's, middle-aged America. It's, it's doctors, lawyers, it's average working people. And we've even had, bachelor parties come in. We had we had a grandma, a mom, and a daughter come in one time.
Perino says she knew this would be a lucrative business, and once Colorado voters were ready to cast their ballots, she was ready to open up shop.
End of the world didn't come, the sky didn't fall, and we are still thriving and actually doing even better than people expected us to be doing right now.
A display of hats, T-shirts, and scarves hangs across a case of edibles and jars of indica, sativa, and hybrids. Keeping those filled leads us down the road to an industrial area housing the other half of Perino's booming business. Her grows.
What makes us unique at Euflora is we are doing this in a greenhouse environment.
We're given a tour of Euflora's 2 greenhouses, small by industry standards.
We generally will run around 1,500 plants.
In one area, a variety of sizes, from female mother plants to smaller clones, coddled and tended to like babies in a nursery.
They'll start rooting after 2 weeks.
Next door, large flowering plants and different strains.
That right there is blueberry kush.
Soon headed for store shelves.
I'm trimming right now.
A group of employees meticulously trims, weighs, and packages Euflora's buds for the shops. We are told another 1,800 square feet of greenhouse space is in the works to accommodate up to 4,000 plants.
We're really pushing the terpenes and the flavor of the plants to come out because we're using natural sunlight.
And remember that all-important RFID tag? Campbell points one out to us.
The Marijuana Enforcement Division in Colorado can come in at any time, scan this entire room. I don't know exactly how many plants we have.
If the count is off from the state's metric computer system, the shop could face hefty fines, even closure. Campbell won't tell us what they pay for water and electricity, notoriously high amounts for marijuana grows, but he says greenhouses cut down considerably on consumption of both. And what about that potent smell so many people complain about?
We actually have a gourmet cheese processing plant as our neighbor, so I think our other neighbors prefer the smell of us to the smell of gourmet cheese.
Campbell offers up this advice to other states that will embrace legal marijuana.
Don't try to overtax it. That will encourage the black market, and don't think, that it's going to change society.
Whether you're for recreational marijuana or medicinal or perhaps both, we hope you feel better informed about Proposition 64. I'm Beth Farnsworth. Thanks for watching.